Page 1031. Do you all have the copies? Okay. Page 1031, 1032, 1033, 1034, 1035, 1036, 1037, 1038, 1039, 1040, page 1041, 1042, 1043, 1044, 1045, 1046, 1047, 1048, 1049, 1050, page 1051, 1052, 1053, 1054, 1055, 1056, 1057, 1058, 1059, 1060, page 1061, 1062, 1063, 1064, 1065, 1066, 1067, 1068, 1069, 1070, page 1071, 1072, 1073, 1074, 1075, 1076, 1077, 1078, 1079, 1080, page 1081, 1082, 1083, 1084, page 1085. Distinguished Senator Takumbo Abiru.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Tokumbo Abiru, Lagos East Senatorial District. I rise to move for the adoption of the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 27th September 2022. I so move, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Tolu Odebi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Tolu Odebi. I represent Ogun West. I rise to move for the support of the move for the adoption of the votes and proceedings for Tuesday, the 27th September 2022.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 27th September 2022 be approved, say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 27th September 2022 is approved. Petitions. Distinguished Senator Obinna Ogba.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Obinna Oba, Ebonyi Central. Mr. President, I have a petition from one of my constituents, a retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, against police formation for unlawful retirement, and since then they have refused to pay him his entitlement or to recall him back. Mr. President, there is no impediment in the court proceedings against this petition. It is my wish to lay this, Mr. President. Thank you.
Is he seeking any judicial remedy?
None, Mr. President.
You may lay the petition then. The petition is referred to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions to report back within 4 weeks. Petitions. Petition, distinguished Senator Kuala Balogun.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a petition from a member of my constituency who is seeking your intervention on what is perceived as his unjustifiable disqualification from a promotion exercise at NIPOST. Mr. President, because National Assembly is seen as the last hope of common man, he is therefore seeking your intervention in this matter. Therefore, I seek your indulgence to lay the petition before the Senate. Thank you, sir.
Is he seeking any judicial remedy? You may lay the petition. The petition is referred to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions to report back within 4 weeks. I think I would like to help the minority parties, particularly PDP, today. Just for the other side of the house, the main side, to know why my left hand side is so scanty, almost looking deserted. The PDP has a function, and I think many of our colleagues from PDP have gone to attend the function. But if at the end the function does not give you what you expect, we have enough seats on this side for you to comfortably come and just be on that side. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Frank Ibezim.
Thank you, Mr. President. I come by order 42, personal explanation. By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there may be no questions before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it is sought. Thank you, Mr. President. Shall I proceed, sir?
Yeah, you may proceed because you You told me what you wanted to talk about. So even though you didn't mention, but we are listening. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to inform the Honorable Senate that I regret to inform that the senator that represented my senatorial zone, Senator Boniface Chukwudi Agunane, in the Third Republic, died a few days ago. And that Senator Agunane represented Okigwe zone in the Third Republic. That on retirement, he became an active politician and became the party chairman of the National Republic Convention Party at the local government. That he was appointed a member of the Constitution Review Committee in 1987 and also a member of the Constituent Assembly in 1988-89. At various times, Senator Agunane held board appointments at both the state and the federal levels. He was an active member of the APC party until his death. Prior to that, he was a permanent secretary and principal secretary to the SY governors of Imo State, Senator Major General retired Ike Nwachukwu and Rear Admiral retired Alison Madrid. The family has just mentioned that he will be interred on the 29th December 2022. I pray, Mr. Chairman.
Let's observe a minute silence in honor of the late distinguished senator. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Amen. Please, those in the gallery, when we observe a minute silence, we stand up in the chamber and you are also expected to also stand up to observe the minute silence with us. Thank you. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Senator Emmanuel Boacha.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in a similar manner, I am coming or rising on the strength of Order 42, like the speaker before me. But for want of time, I want to stress that the matter is not a controversial matter, and the matter I had raised with you on the day the CJN was to be screened because of time.
But you didn't tell me what you are going to talk about.
I told you about the loss of lives resulting from bandit attacks in the community in my senatorial district. Apparently, you must have forgotten. You said we should leave it till after.
No, but this is not the way to come to the floor, because you are supposed to come with the emotion. 42 is personal explanation. But you should have discussed, anyway, you are going to do it, but you should have discussed with me. If you are talking about last week, naturally I would have forgotten. But it's okay, go ahead. Yes.
So like I said, Mr. President, it's not a controversial matter. You recall, shortly before we left for the summer break, I drew your attention to an attack to a community, in my senatorial district, which resulted to the loss of many lives. And I emphasized or pointed out that these attackers were coming from the war zone of Northeast, where the bandits have come under heavy bombardment from our military. Some of them who are coming from the Northeast and some from the Northwest. have found safe haven in some part of my senatorial district, and were raining fire and brimstone upon innocent lives. While we are on break, Mr. President, some communities in Takum and Usa came under heavy attacks from this bandit, and several lives have been lost, running to close to about 100 lives as I speak. I want, Mr. President, to commend the military in their own way that have tried, in spite of the fact that our military had been overstretched because of the ongoing security challenges we have in the country. But they have tried in their own way, and I think they deserve commendation. And I want to encourage them to keep fighting as we are beginning to see results in the war against insurgency and banditry. Mr. President, I want to add that as a prayer that the military be encouraged to step up their defense of these communities, and then for us to observe a minute's silence for the lives lost, that the Lord will comfort the loved ones that have been lost in the process in the communities of Usa and part of Takum local government. That is my submission, Mr. President, and thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, distinguished Senator Emmanuel Boacha. We observe a minute silence, but because we have come under personal explanation, this is not subject of debate, so we do the, we observe a minute silence in honor of those who lost their lives. And let me join you in commending the military, our military, for stepping up their operations against insurgency in the Northeast, and indeed banditry, militancy, and so many other vices across the country. Recently, like we've said before, the military has been recording a lot of successes, and we are solidly behind them, not only with prayers, but also with whatever that we can legislatively intervene to give them the kind of support that is necessary for them to continue to succeed. 1 minute silence. May the souls of our departed compatriots rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate.
Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Federal Polytechnic Garko Establishment Bill 2022 HB 820. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Polytechnic Garko Establishment Bill 2022, HB 820, first reading.
Federal Polytechnic Garko Establishment Bill 2022, HB 820, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is also the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Chartered Institute of Tourism and Hospitality, Establishment Bill 2022, HB 897. Mr. President, may I wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Chartered Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Establishment Bill 2022, HB 897, first reading.
Chartered Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Establishment Bill 2022, HB 897, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Ndumi Muhammad Ali on the Elite Sheriff's Corps of Nigerian Establishment Bill 2022, SB 847. Mr. President, may I wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Elite Sheriff's Corps of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022, SB 847, first reading.
Elite Sheriff's Corps of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022, SB 847, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of the bill standing in the name of Senator Sani Uba on the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 1055. Mr. President, may I wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation NDIC Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 1055, first reading.
Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation NDIC Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 1055, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion standing in my name on the recommittal of the University of...
Leader, you have jumped.
is the presentation of the bill standing in the name of Senator Adeyemi Smart on the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Alteration Bill 2022, SB 1056. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Alteration Bill 2022, SB 1056, first reading.
1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Alteration Bill 2022, SB 1056, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion standing in my name on the recommittal of the University of Aerospace and Aeronautics, Oka Akoko, Establishment ETC Bill 2022 to the Committee of the Whole. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move the motion.
You may proceed. Use your mic, please.
Recommittal of the Federal University of Aerospace and Aeronautics, Oka Akoko Establishment Bill 2022 to the Committee of the Whole. The Senate recalls that the Federal University of Aerospace and Aeronautics, Oka Akoko Establishment Bill 2022 was passed by the National Assembly and was transmitted to the President for assent.
Order.
Observes that some fundamental issues which require fresh legislative action by both chambers of the National Assembly emerged after a critical analysis of the bill by Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief. Aware that the Technical Committee of the Senate and the House of Representatives and the Directorate of Legal Services met and worked on the bill. Relying on Order 1 subsection B and the Order 52 subsection 6 of Senate Standing Order 2022 as amended, accordingly resolves to resign its decision on the bill as passed and recommend same to the Committee of the Whole for the consideration and passage. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second that the Senate do resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider this.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report clause by clause say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, powers of the university and their exercise, clause 5, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6 is on page 5. Composition of the Council of the University. Those who were at clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, functions of the Senate, clause 9, General Fund of the University, clause 10, functions of the Vice Chancellor. Stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor at clause 11, transfer of property, clause 13, clause 12, sorry, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, and clause 15, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 16 is on page 12. Clause 16, the visitor. Those in favor at clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, clause 20, discipline of students. Stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 21 is on page 16, exclusion of discrimination. Those in favor at clause 21, clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, clause 25, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 26, special provisions relating to pension of professors, on page 18. Those in favor at clause 26, clause 27, clause 28, and clause 29, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation on page 19, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the short title, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedules 1, 2, and 3, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 35, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, Plenary.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate revert to plenary to report progress.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, please. Those in favor that the Senate reverts to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the Federal University of Aerospace and Aeronautics, OCA Akoko, Establishment Bill 2022, and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 29 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules 1, 2, and 3 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second the motion that the bill be read for the third time.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Aerospace and Aeronautics, OCA-ACOCO, and for matters of administration and discipline of students connected therewith 2022, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Aerospace and Aeronautics, OCA-ACOCO, and for matters of administration and discipline of students connected therewith 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Congratulations. Deputy Leader, it's your own. Congratulations. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the second reading of the Informal Sector Private Employment Agencies Regulation Bill 2022 SB 541. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 20th October 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Musa Mohammed Sani to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Distinguished Senator Mohammed Sani Musa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on the bill seeking to regulate and formalize the employment of domestic workers, apprenticeships, interns, and other informal sector employees in Nigeria, and to empower the National Directorate of Employment to issue license and monitor privately owned employment agencies whose responsibility will be to enroll employees in their data bank, safeguard and enhance their social security, and oversee their recruitment by employers who engage in legitimate occupation on such terms and conditions as may be agreed by the parties. The bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, 20th October 2020. The informal sector is usually regarded as the residual labor market where labor is highly heterogeneous, and sources of income are not largely wage dependent. Working time is discretionary, and some work jobs are not paid at all. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the wide range of information available is that the operation in the sector are usually in small scale, that production techniques is labor intensive, and that ownership is usually private. In most cases, the workers in this sector are family members, apprentices, and few paid employees. Issues in informal sector labor practice within the informal sector of Nigerian economy show evidence of violation of employees' rights and non-implementation of labor regulations. Although the informal sector provides a safety net for skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled labor who could not find job in the formal sector of the labor market, however, informal sector in Nigeria has practices that are not in conformity with International Labor Organization, ILO, best practices, as ratified in its conventions. Notwithstanding that Nigeria is a signatory to these conventions, there are still a lot of deficits in the implementations of these conventions. One of such areas of concern relates to decent work deficit. Decent work is work with fair and equal treatment, decent remuneration, and fair conditions of employment, safety and social protection, opportunities for training and development, and collective bargaining. The primary goal of this bill is to regulate this sector to promote strategic objectives, the promotion of rights at work, employment, social protection, and social dialogue. On the contrary, many jobs in the informal labor market in Nigeria still experience decent work deficit. Employees in the informal sector are often seen as having no rights and are not treated fairly by their employers. All of this bill seeks to correct. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, this bill empowered the National Directorate of Employment to issue license and monitor the activities of employment agencies throughout the country. The National Directorate of Employment therefore shall, A, on an application from an agency who desired to function as an employment agency in the prescribed format, issue a license after having been duly satisfied that 1, the agency is registered either as a sole proprietorship, partnership firm, company, or as non-profit organization. 2, the agency maintains proper books of accounts, memorandum of association, rules, bylaws, as the case may be, and the details of the office bearers of the organization and details of persons employed by such agency. There is no criminal case pending against the said agency or agency owners or both. 4, the premises or place being or to be used for purpose of placement or employment agency exists as per requirements and be by the notification in the federal government gazette. 1. Appoint such persons, being officers of the National Directorate of Employment, as it thinks fit to be licensing officers, and define the limits within which a licensing officer shall exercise the jurisdictions and powers conferred on licensing officers under this bill. Given the importance of this informal sector to our national economy, I urge my distinguished colleagues to support this bill for the second reading. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Wamako.
Mr. President, I remain Senator Aliu M. Wamako, Sokoto North. Mr. President, I stand to lend my support or to support this bill as ably moved by Senator Sani Musa. To me, Mr. President, both the content of the intent of the bill are most timely relevant to the modern day Nigeria. Globally, Mr. President, this private sector is purely regulated in the interest and for the interest of every citizen of any of those countries above, including Nigeria. So I think the bill cannot come at a better time. I therefore second this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Sabi Aliu Abdullahi, Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North. Mr. President, let me commend my distinguished brother, Mohammed Sani, for this very timely piece of legislation. And to say that, just like the last speaker said, this couldn't have come at a better time. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, what happens in this informal sector, especially of, work where employees are being treated either fairly or unfairly, some are abused and the like, is one that calls for concern, because the informal sector perhaps is the largest part of our economy because it's largely unreported. However, as much as we have this issue of indecent work as this bill seeks to protect, the other aspect I would also like us to highlight is there are also situations where these same informal workers have had cause to deal with those who employ them. And I think one case in point is the mother of the past, or is the former deputy governor of Edo State, Lucky Igbenedion. I think that was one case where the old woman was hacked to death by an informally employed person who was put in her own care. So what this tells me, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is that as much as we have many of these employees being treated unfairly or indecently, we also have to remember the other side of the story, where they also have had cause to deal with those who employ them unfairly and the like. So the role this agency is going to play, I think, should look at both sides, so that we protect those who are also employing, at the same way we are also protecting those who are being employed. I think if this is not properly captured, that also should be looked at. Now, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, one interesting thing this will help us to do also is whatever registration format is going to be adopted, we must link it up to our national database. It must be a compulsory requirement for them to have NIM registration, for example, where we know who they are, because there is also this aspect of, non-Nigerians, particularly from some of the West African countries who also come into this country. They are employed, and there are a lot of very bad stories of how they wipe people's house, pack all their valuables and just disappear. So I think, Mr. President, we need to really look at this aspect so that this bill can actually achieve the objective through and through. With these few comments, I support this bill and urge my colleagues to support it for the second reading.
Those in favor that this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. That is Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to regulate and formalize the employment of domestic workers, apprenticeships, interns, and other informal sector employees in Nigeria, and to empower the National Directorate of Employment to issue license and monitor privately owned employment agencies, whose responsibility will be to enroll employees in their data bank, safeguard and enhance their social security, and oversee their recruitment by employees who engaged in legitimate occupation on such terms and conditions as may be agreed.
a bill for an act to regulate and formalize the employment of domestic workers, apprenticeships, interns, and other informal sector employees in Nigeria, and to empower the National Directorate of Employment to issue license and monitor privately owned employment agencies whose responsibility will be to enroll employees in their data bank, safeguard and enhance their social security, and oversee their recruitment by employers who engage in legitimate occupation on such terms and conditions as may be agreed by the parties, and for other related matters, 2022 second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Committee on Labor and Productivity to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the Conference Committee report on the Federal College of Education Act 1998, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022. Distinguished senators will recall that the Senate and the House passed different versions of the Federal College of Education Act 1998, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022. The Conference Committee of both houses have met and harmonized the differences in accordance with the Senate Standing Order 86. Mr. President, may wish to invite distinguished Senator Abdullahi Aliyu Sabi to move the motion for the Senate to consider the conference report.
Distinguished Senator Sabi Aliyu Abdullahi. Do we all have the copies of the report? You can read yours. Is that not the copy? Huh? Oh.
Musa. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North, chairman of this conference on the Federal College of Education Act 1998, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 531. Mr. President, I want to move that the Senate do receive and consider the conference report on Federal College of Education Act 1998, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 531. I so move.
I need a seconder. Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Kabirga.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Kabirga, representing the people of Kano South from Kano State. Mr. President, I second the motion ably moved by Senator Abdullahi Aliyu Sabi that the Senate do receive and consider the Conference Committee report on Federal College of Education Act 1998, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022, SB 53. I so second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the Conference Committee report on Federal College of Education Act 1998, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. You may lay the report, please. Professor Nora Dadut, did you say point of order?
I just want to draw the attention.
Which order? Correction on the report. But the report has not been presented yet.
On the report and what has been presented to us in the order.
Yes.
The Act 1986 is indicated on the report, whereas
on the other paper is 98.
Yes, we have 1998
Yes.
as indicated on our.
Distinguished. I've taken note of that correction, but meanwhile, let's allow the single Senator Sabi to present the report, then we can raise the issue again, because at the moment, he has not presented the report. So let's wait a bit for him to present the report, then you can raise that issue. The single Senator Sabi Ali Abdullahi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Once again, I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North. Mr. President, this is the report of the Conference Committee on a bill to repeal the Federal Colleges of Education Act 1986 and to enact the Federal Colleges of Education Bill and Related Matters 2022, SB 531 and House Bill 1455. The bill for an act to repeal the Federal Colleges of Education Act 1986 and to enact the Federal Colleges of Education Bill and Related Matters 2022 SB 531 and House of Representatives version HB 1455 was passed by the two chambers accordingly. However, some differences were noticed in the two versions of the bill as passed by the two chambers. Consequently, a conference committee was constituted by the two chambers to reconcile areas of differences that appeared in the two versions. The membership of the committee are shown at paragraph 2, and the House of Representative members are also shown accordingly. Paragraph 3, conference committee activity. The two committees met and deliberated on the Senate and House of Reps version of the bill, particularly on the areas of differences and harmonized them accordingly. It was resolved that the harmonized version of the bill be adopted by each of the two chambers of the National Assembly for approval. Paragraph 4, legislative summary. In carrying out this legislative assignment, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the committee adopted the following from the Senate version: clauses 1, subsection F1 and 3, clauses 4, 6, clauses 12, 4, 5, and 6, clauses 13, 14, 15, 16, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, and 30. The explanatory memorandum and the long title, while in the House version, clauses 2, 3, 4, subclause 1, 5, 6, subclause 1A and 2, clauses 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, subclause 1, 2, and 3, clauses 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 27, and 31. Interpretation. Clauses 32, citation, and the schedules 1 and 2 were all adopted from the House version. Some clauses were taken from both versions, particularly in instances where a clause or subclause was missing from the other version. Recommendation. The Conference Committee hereby recommend as follows: that the Senate and House of Representatives do consider and approve the Conference Committee report on a bill for an act to repeal the Federal Colleges of Education Act 1986 and to enact the Federal Colleges of Education Bill and for related matters 2022 as recommended. Conclusion. On behalf of the members of this conference committee, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we want to thank members of both chambers of the National Assembly for the opportunity to resolve areas of differences in this very important and crucial bill. and recommend it for its adoption. Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Ladi Nora Dadut.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Nora Ladi Dadut, representing Plateau South Senatorial District. Mr. President, I just wanted to draw the attention of my colleagues that the title of the report presented has some discrepancies in as regards the act. What is on the order of the day is the Act 1999 and 1998, whereas on the title of the report, what we have is 1986. So I just wanted us to clarify that. That is why I drew the attention of the distinguished colleagues.
That's correct. Distinguished Senator Sabi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. The correct one is that of the report. I guess this was from the Secretariat. Maybe they just made a mistake. So the one on the report is the correct one, which is 1986.
This is Senator Ladi Dadut. Are you okay? All right. Any comments? Distinguished Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Dr. Surajuddin Ajibola Bashiru. I represent also Central Senatorial Districts. I think in presenting the report, the Harmonization Committee had actually been able to streamline the provisions in the two versions of the bill. And I would say that unlike what is taught before, that when you are doing harmonization, you only take a section and against a section. They have been able to look at certain subsection, either in the House version or the Senate version, that brings out the purpose and intent of the bill, and then be able to adopt it on the subsection basis. So I think this will enhance the quality of the legislation, and if I'm permitted, I second the adoption of the report of the committee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much for your intervention. Any comments? Then I'll put the question. The recommendation of the committee. The committee recommends as follows: that the Senate and the House of Representatives do consider and approve the Conference Committee report on a bill for an act to repeal the Federal Collegiate Education Act 1986 and to enact the Federal Collegiate Education Bill, and for that's supposed to be bill or act? Bill? So, and to enact. Okay. The Federal Collegiate Education Bill and for related matters 2022 as recommended. Those in favor of this recommendation, it should be act. Do you enact a bill? No, but I think we better look at it. You don't enact a bill. Then the language, how do you enact a bill? No, not enacting a bill. Yes, you bring the bill to enact. Exactly. Thank you, DSP. But we hope that it will be an act by the time we pass it here, if the president signs an operative. But to say that we enact a bill, I think the language doesn't flow. I don't know, where are the lawyers? Guys, please help us out. Chairman, Judiciary. Aha. Senator Ajibola Basiru.
What we, Mr. President, sir, what we enact here is a bill. It's only when it's assented to by the president that becomes an act of the parliament. So it's not a draft, it's a bill. There's a difference, and that is why when you see the title, it will be a bill to enact law.
You are now talking the way we wanted it. It's a bill to enact. But read what is here.
A bill to enact. They have to change it to a bill to enact.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Michael Okweyemi Bamidele, representing Ekiti Central Senatorial District, a bill for an act to enact or to establish or to do an act is simply trying to draw a line of demarcation.
No, how we are very particular. How do we couch this one? We want it to be correct. Even if we were doing it like that before, now we have to correct it so that it goes smoothly.
From an act until it is assented to by Mr. President. So it is a bill at the level of legislative action. And that is all we can do here, legislative action.
The DSP. Okay, thank you for your intervention.
I think of Yomo Agege, Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, let me go to how I believe the recommendations you read. That the Senate and the House of Representatives do consider and approve the conference committee report on a bill for an act to repeal the Federal Colleges of Education Act 1986 and to enact a bill for an act to enact a bill for an act of the Federal Colleges of God, I'm confused right now. And to enact a bill for an act. I'm confused. Let me get myself right there.
The confusion is to enact the Federal Colleges of Education bill. That's why the confusion is. Deputy Chief Whip.
Sir, we are forgetting one thing. This bill has two components. It is repealing and enacting. That's why the beginning of the title of the bill is a bill for an act. So that's what we should look at, sir. This bill is repealing an existing act and enacting another one. So if you check from the beginning, it says report on a bill for an act to repeal the Federal College of Education Act and enact the Federal College of Education. So that's where it's supposed to...
You stop at Federal College of Education. Yes. But do you enact a bill? No. Let's look at the language. For a bill to enact the act. I don't know, the lawyers are not able to take us out of the woods. So, well, that's a food for thought, but I will read from my chamber brief. The one in the chamber brief is okay. Those in favor that the Senate do approve the conference committee report on the Federal College of Education Act 1998, repeal and enactment bill 1986. Repeal and enactment bill 2022, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. DSP, are you convinced? Yeah, this one says. Yes. Okay. The one that was not right, I think we still need to agree on something because it's supposed to be a standard. Yes. Leader of the Senate.
Let me find out if the report is ready.
No, the report is ready. It's ready. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Education and TED Fund on the Federal University Gusau Establishment Bill 2022, SB 25. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 27th November 2019. Mr. President may wish to invite Senator Ahmed Baba Keita, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion on the presentation and consideration of the report.
Who is going to present on behalf of Senator Ahmed Baba Keita? Oh, okay, distinguished Senator Nora Ladi Dadut.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I am Nora Ladi Dadut, representing Plateau South Senatorial District. I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on a bill for an act to establish the Federal University Gusau, Zamfara State, to ensure access to tertiary education in the country and for related matters. Bill 2022, SB 25. I so move, Mr. President.
I need a seconder. Distinguished Senator Bello Mandia, Katsina North. Oh, Katsina South, sorry.
Mr. President, my name is Bello Mandia, I represent Katsina South. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by Senator Dadi Ladam. I so move, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal University Gusau, Zamfara State, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Prof, you may lay the report, please. You may present the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate.
Distinguished Deputy Chief Whip, Chairman Appropriation, you may take your seats around there. If you choose to sit around our princess.
the report of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on a bill for an act to establish the Federal University Gusau, Zamfara State, to ensure access to tertiary institution education in the country and for related matters, Bill 2022, SB 25. The Senate, at its plenary on Tuesday, the 8th October 2019, debated the general principles of the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University Gusau and for related matters 2022 SB 25, sponsored by distinguished Senator Sahabi Alhaji Yao. After deliberations, the bill was read for the second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Tertiary Education and TED Fund for further legislative action, with Senate Order of Referral dated Wednesday, 27th November 2019, and to report back with its recommendations. The objectives of the bill. The core object of the bill is to provide a legislative framework to support the establishment of the Federal University of Gusau with a view to spreading the educational infrastructure to Nigerians while balancing access to education in the country. Objectives of the bill. Specific objectives of the bill. The bill seeks to achieve the following. 1, to develop and offer academic and professional programs leading to the award of first degrees, postgraduate research degrees, and diplomas in diverse courses. The committee legislative action. Mr. President, permit me to just do the summary, the findings.
Yeah, go ahead. Use your mic, please.
Findings. 1, to achieve the objectives of the bill, the committee makes the following observations. 1, that the stakeholders at the public hearing unanimously subscribed to the content of the draft bill and unequivocally supported the passage of the bill for the establishment of the university. 2, that the establishment of university, no doubt, provides the required manpower needs of Nigerians in the area of educational advancement of the nation. Recommendation. The Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund, having carefully considered same, hereby recommends as follows. That the Senate do consider and pass the bill for an act to establish the Federal University Gusau, Zamfara State, to ensure access to tertiary education in the country and for related matters, Bill 2022 SB 25, as recommended. Conclusion. In conclusion, I, on behalf of the Chairman, Tertiary Education, and members of the Tertiary Education, I wish to use this opportunity to thank the President of the Senate and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and to humbly request the Senate to pass this bill. I so move, Mr. President.
Any comments? Leader will go to the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate may go to the Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider this report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 1. Those in favor, by the way, this university has been in existence since 2012. And this is only to give it a legal backing. Those in favor of Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3, composition of the Council of the University, Clause 4, and Clause 5. Stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 6 is on page 7. Powers of the University. Those in favor of Clause 6, Clause 7, Clause 8, Clause 9, Clause 10, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 11 is on page 12. Those in favor of Clause 11, Clause 12, Clause 13, the visitor, Clause 14, and Clause 15, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 16 is on page 17. Removal and discipline of academic, administrative, and professional staff. Those in favor of Clause 16, Clause 17, Clause 18, Clause 19, financial provisions, and Clause 20, financial year accounts. Stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 21 is on page 23, retiring age of academic staff. Those in favor of Clause 21, Clause 22, 23, 24, and 25, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of Clause 26, transfer of land to the university. Clause 27, Clause 28, Clause 29, and Clause 30, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation on page 30, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedules 1, 2, and 3, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 60, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move a motion for the Senate to revert to plenary and report progress. So.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do revert to plenary for the chairman to report progress. I so second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate reverts to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal University Gusau, Zamfara State Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, Clause 1 to 30 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, Schedules 1, 2, and 3 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move a motion that the Federal University Gusau Establishment Bill 2022 be now read the third time. I so.
I So second, Mr. President. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University Gusau, Zamfara State, to ensure access to tertiary education in the country and for related matters, SB 25, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal University Gusau, Zamfara, to ensure access to tertiary education in the country and for related matters, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is a motion standing in the name of Senator Odia Clifford and the two others on urgent need to intervene on the failed portions of Benin Epoma Auchi Okene, Benin Sapele, Ewu, Uroni, Agbo roads. Mr. President, may I wish to invite Senator Odia Clifford to move the motion.
Distinguished Senator Clifford Odia.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues. I'm Senator Clifford Odia. I represent Edo Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, it's a motion for the urgent need to intervene on the faith portions of Benin, Epoma, Auchi, Okene, Benin, Saple, and Ewu, Uromi, Agbo roads. The co-sponsors are Senator Francis Alamikena, Edo North, and Senator Matthew Rohide, Edo South. The Senate is aware that the following roads, Benin, Epoma, Okene Road, Benin, Saple Road, and Ewu, Agbo Road, are major roads that link Edo State to the north and other southern states in the country. These roads have been constructed for more than 3 decades and have, in no doubt, aided the vehicular movement of persons and goods from the south to the north and from Edo State to other southern states, and therefore boosting socio-economic activities between both regions and people. Senate knows that as a result of age, wear, and tear, certain portions of these roads are beginning to fail, and this development have caused untold hardship on commuters plying these roads. Senators are aware that in 2012, following a series of complaints by commuters and motorists plying the Benin Epoma Okene Road, the contract for its reconstruction and realization was awarded by the federal government under President Goodluck Jonathan's-led administration. In the same vein, the administration of President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan also awarded the contract for the rehabilitation of Ewu Agbo Road before this administration ended in 2015. In 2021, it was reported that the governor of Edo State, His Excellency Godwin Obaseki, attempted to intervene in fixing the faith portions of the Benin Saple Road, especially the BZ Junction, Ologbo, axis of the road. It was, however, declined because the federal government, as it were, has already awarded these projects. Senators are aware that since this rehabilitation and reconstruction contracts were awarded, the pace of work has been very slow. The factors that top the list of reasons for the slow pace of work on these roads, as reported, are non-payment of compensation, relocation of structures to buildings on the right of way, as well as delay in payment to contractors. Disturbed that currently, certain portions of these roads have failed completely and has become a source of nightmare to motorists, especially articulated vehicles that spend days on the same spot, thereby preventing other smaller vehicles from navigating their way through the roads. This situation has sadly compelled smaller vehicles to opt for longer alternative routes in order to avoid the gridlock caused by the big vehicles and the bad portions of these roads. Study is further disturbed that transporters are forced to increase their fares due to increased hours of time it takes for them to arrive at a journey that they would have otherwise spent less time to arrive at, thereby passing buck to the passengers and travelers who now pay higher than expected fares to his or her destinations. This situation is disheartening considering the current high inflation that Nigerians are currently grappling with. I'm worried that the people of Edo State are already growing impatient and worried that they have been neglected by the federal government. Socio-economic activities have been grossly affected in the communities where these roads are located because of the inability of people to commute easily to their place of work and business. Senate accordingly resolved to 1, all the Federal Ministry of Works to A, commence immediate repairs on the first portions of these roads, B, provide adequate funding sufficient to complete the reconstruction of these roads, and C, come up with a plan to settle all linked issues, body on the utilization of the roads with contractors, and also review the terms and conditions of the contract to meet current realities of inflation. I so move, Mr. President. Thank you.
Senator Francis Elemekana, Edo North.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Francis Alimikena, representing the good people of Edo North. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to support this motion ably made by my brother, distinguished Senator Odia. Mr. President, this road, Bini, Ekpoma, Auchi, Okene Road, has become a recording decimal in these chambers. This road was awarded almost over 10 years ago, and it has not significantly improved in the construction. And this is a major road linking south-south to Abuja and northern states. As we speak, Mr. President, the junction at Ewu, there are about 50 trailers there now. That is a link road to Asaba and Onitsha. The contractor handling that aspect of that road has gone home to sleep because he will say no payment. The journey from Auchi to Bini that used to take 1 hour, 30 minutes, now takes 4 hours. You cannot pass Ekpoma to Bini now because the trailers has taken over that Ekpoma road. And Okene to Auchi is an eyesore. So people are suffering, and if those people doing it, the smaller vehicle can't pass through that road. There was a demonstration not quite long on that road. If the federal government cannot fix that road right now, the palliative measure should be make in place immediately so that at least economic activity can thrive. Mr. President, the junction, as I say, Ewu to Oromi, that junction you can't pass it. And it's all over the place. So it is my suggestion, Mr. President, that a good palliative measure should put in place so that those people, our people are suffering. I also support this motion, Mr. President.
The DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ovie Omo Agege, Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I'd like to commend the 3 senators from Edo State who brought this motion. As I indicated earlier this morning, Mr. President, I believe there is a motion that actually should have had pretty much all of the senators from the South, you know, as co-sponsors. Be that as it may, Mr. President, I commend them most especially Senator Clifford Odia for bringing the motion. Let me also say right away that in the main, for the most part, I align myself with the content of the motion, most especially to the extent of the challenges faced by the road users, you know, on these roads. Mr. President, I should state at the outset, and I want to speak to certain components. I want to speak to certain components of these roads. As I stand here, Mr. President, I'm not really in a position for now to speak in an educated manner with respect to the Benin, Uromi, Ekpoma component. But I will speak to the Benin Sapele component, and I will also speak to the Uromi, Iwu, Uromi, Agbo to Sapele, even though they didn't mention that, because that road is actually in two sectors. There's sectors 1 and sector 2. I believe the Delta component is sector 1. That is from Sapele to Agbo. And then sector 2 is Agbo to Uromi and Iwu, if I'm not mixing it up. You know, I say this, Mr. President, because all of us, not just the federal government, has an obligation, you know, to see that these challenges on these roads are addressed. As a follow-up to this, I recall the budget, budget of 2 years ago. Most of my intervention, Mr. President, allocation in these chambers, I plowed it into that sector 1, that is Sapele to Agbo. But unfortunately, Mr. President, it was like throwing something into nothing. Over 2 billion naira was put into that project, and nothing happened. On inquiry, we were told that the money that we put in there was used to pay outstanding debt. Frankly, Mr. President, if I knew 2 billion naira by way of intervention was going to be used to pay outstanding obligation, I probably wouldn't have even looked in that direction. But that's exactly what we did, and the money went down the drain, and nothing was done on that road. And as we speak today, pretty much, I think the contractor has basically gone to sleep, to use the language of the mover of the motion. But what's the real challenge there? Some of us who confronted the minister at the time, the Minister of Works, and we did find that the bulk of the monies allocated for roads, none actually came in there. To the extent it came at all, it was very, very insignificant. You know, so I feel that the prayers requested here are very, very adequate. But Mr. President, there's something I'd like to point out here. There's an allegation here that I call it an allegation, you know, made by the mover of the motion, to the extent that the governor of Edo State tried to intervene sometime and was told that it's a federal road and therefore should not. Mr. President, I find it very, very difficult to believe and accept that. Mr. President, we all know, you know, if you go to the different states right now, irrespective of party, most of these governors realizing that at the end of the day, these roads, the end users are actually their people. They're not federal government workers who ply these roads. Like that, for instance, taking this Sapele Sector 1, on this Ewu Sapele Road, or Sector 1, for instance, the people who ply that road are people from Delta State, Mr. President. The people who ply, for the most part, the roads, the Benin Sapele component of that federal road, are most of them either Edo people or Delta people and or Rivers people and what have you. They are not federal, they are not employees of Federal Ministry of Works and what have you from Abuja that apply that route. So it is our people who apply this route. And as a consequence of that, that's why most of the governors of the various states have decided to plan their own resources, have this road repaired, and then eventually ask for refunds. Not too long ago, some of us we were in Owerri. The roads that the governor of Imo State, Hobu Zodima, got Mr. President Commission, they are federal roads. They are federal roads. And I remember the argument was making at the time, saying, listen, the users of these roads are people from Imo State. You don't have workers of federal government coming from Abuja to go and apply those roads. So therefore, he will use state resources to do these roads, and hopefully someday the federal government will reimburse. If they don't reimburse today, they will reimburse tomorrow. So, Mr. President, I think while we are lambasting the federal government, for not fixing these roads as we should also hold these our state governors, to account as well. That's why I have difficulty accepting that the governor of Edo State was stopped, from fixing that federal road.
Do you mean encouraging them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Governor was stopped from fixing that road. I'm not so sure that anybody stopped Governor Kowa of Delta State, from fixing the
DSP. We're encouraging them, yes.
The Edo, the Sapele, the Benin Sapele component, and then also the sector 1 of Sapele to Agbo. Because it's only Delta people who plan the road, just like it's only those people who plan the road. So having said that, Mr. President, I'd like to once again commend. I will do it if he doesn't do it, yes. So I want to once again commend the mover of this motion and to say I support it wholeheartedly. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Kabir Gaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Kabir Gaya, represent the people of Kano South from Kano State. Mr. President, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a word or two on this motion. I would like to commend the movers of the motion by the 3 senators from Edo State. Mr. President, I also want us to appreciate that this government of President Muhammad Buhari for the last number of years have been doing well on Nigeria roads. And also want you to understand the capacity of the work the government is doing since we came into office. Over 34,000 kilometers of Nigeria roads have been attended to. Some few examples on second Niger bridge, which was laid foundation and abandoned. It was Buhari's administration that came in and has almost completed that project. And then, Mr. President, so many other roads are under construction by this administration. Our major problem, Mr. President, is the funding of these roads. When you have 34,000 kilometers, it's difficult to fund all of them at the same time. So the amount allocated are not enough to run the project. And I remember Minister of Works used to say that let us be able to limit some few projects to complete them instead of putting too many projects or roads. So I believe that the government the prayers he has put in, we need to look at the prayers, but the most importantly is the funding. And I also say we should encourage state governors to intervene in some areas. I believe my governor of my state, Kano, Governor Ganduje, has done so many road projects for under federal government, and is applying for funds. In some places, even he's doing flyovers. Yes, so I think we need to commend governors who are doing that, and also encourage others to join suit, because these roads are being, the people planning those roads are generally their constituents. So therefore, Mr. President, I second this bill, but I also commend the federal government of President Buhari for doing the best it can in improvement of Nigerian roads. Thank you, sir.
Senator Babakaita.
I think, Mr. President, I just wanted to chip in because the campaign period is over. We are almost, this government is coming to an end. So the earlier we put our...
Chief Whip. Okay, Senator Babakaita, I will allow you to contribute, but please just be guided that today is 28. Quite okay, the campaigns will start from today, but not from the chamber. Go ahead.
Mr. President, I'm actually supporting what you just said now. I'm saying that we don't need to play politics with any of our sensitive projects at this critical point in time. We are supposed to prioritize our jobs that we can say before the tenure of this administration ends. And when we come here and we said Ganduje is doing well, where we cannot even pass in this, and the Niger bridge is almost completed, when everybody knows that, I think we are not...
Distinguished colleagues, allow him to land, please. No. Chief Whip, please. Babakaita, you are protected, but land.
No, I just wanted to guide the Senate.
Well, before we go to the prayers, let me say this. In the 2015 appropriation, and that was the last appropriation by the then PDP administration, what was given to roads, far less than that. Just hold on, I'm just making a point. Just hold on. What was given to the Ministry of Works for all the roads in Nigeria was about 22 billion naira. The APC administration that took over gave over 200 billion that same year. And I'm just trying to put the record straight that there is clear commitment on this side to address this national issue of our roads being bad. For us here in the Senate and in the National Assembly, all we need to do is to be really, really patriotic, just support the executive to ensure that our roads, regardless of where they are, whether they're in Delta or in Jigawa or in Abia, we don't care. Nigerians ply these roads. But I think for anyone to say that the second Niger bridge is not nearing completion, or that roads over 34,000 kilometers have not been attended to well by this administration, I think is unfair. So I want us to be properly guided. But we have not done enough. Despite all this, we need to do more. But we did far, far better in the last 7 years than people who served in 16 years. So we go to the prayers. Babakaita will go to the prayers, please. No, we are going to the prayers. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to urge the Federal Ministry of Works to A, commence immediate repairs on the failed portions of these roads. Those in favor of this, let me read all the prayers. Prayer 1A, okay, let me put the question on prayer 1A. Those in favor of prayer 1A say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 1B, provide adequate funding sufficient to complete the reconstruction of these roads. Those in favor of prayer 1B say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And prayer 1C, come up with a plan to settle all lingering issues bordering on the dualization of the roads with the contractors, and also review the terms and conditions of the contract to meet current realities of inflation. Those in favor of prayer 1C, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, thank you very much for your interventions.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the sixth.
Order.
The 6th to 10th order of the day are House bills for concurrence, as listed on the order paper. Distinguished senators will recall that the bills were read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 8th March 2022, Tuesday, 19th July 2022, Wednesday, 15th December 2021, Tuesday, 1st February 2022, and Wednesday, 18th December 2019, respectively.
Order.
Mr. President, for the simple nature of the bills and the inter-chamber reciprocity, I will use a single lead debate on these bills.
You may proceed, please.
Number 1 is Energy Commission of Nigerian Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, HB 243. Number 2 is Armed Forces of Nigeria Trust Fund Establishment Bill 2022, HB 742. Number 3, Institute of Mortgage Brokers and the Lenders of Nigeria Bill 2022, HB 88. Number 4, Federal University of Technology, Sabangida Lantan, Plateau State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 291. And lastly, number 5, Physically Challenged Empowerment Bill 2022, HB 2. I so move, Your Excellency.
Any contributions, comments? Okay, those in favor that those bills be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal and enact the Energy Commission of Nigeria and to charge it with responsibility for coordinating and general surveillance over the systematic development of the various energy resources of Nigeria, and to make the Commission the national focal point for new and renewable energy, energy efficiency and conservation, and to establish the Renewable Energy Efficiency and Conservation Fund 2022, HB 243, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide special financial support for the revamping of the armed forces of Nigeria with the provision of regular training for armed forces personnel and the provision of modern security and defense equipment and for related matters 2022, HB 742, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Institute of Mortgage Brokers and Lenders of Nigeria to regulate the activities and ensure professionalism in the system and for related matters 2022, HB 88, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Labangida Lantan South, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters 2022, HB 291, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide that 10% of jobs available in all federal government ministries, departments, agencies, and companies be distributed amongst the physically challenged persons in Nigeria and for related matters 2022, HB 2, second reading.
A bill for an act to repeal and enact the Energy Commission of Nigeria and to charge it with the responsibility for coordinating and general surveillance over the systematic development of various energy resources of Nigeria, and to make the Commission the national focal point for new and renewable energy, energy efficiency and conservation, and to establish the Renewable Energy Efficiency and Conservation Fund 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee of the Whole. A bill for an act to provide special financial support for the revamping of the armed forces of Nigeria, with the provision of regular training for armed forces personnel, and the provision of modern security and defense equipment, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is also referred to the Committee of the Whole. A bill for an act to establish the Institute of Mortgage Brokers and Lenders of Nigeria to regulate the activities and ensure professionalism in the system, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is also referred to the Committee of the Whole. A bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Sabangida, Lantang South, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is also referred to the Committee of the Whole. A bill for an act to provide that 10% of jobs available in all federal government ministries, departments, and agencies and companies be distributed amongst the physically challenged persons in Nigeria, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is also referred to the Committee of the Whole. Leader of the Senate, Committee of the Whole.
The President, distinguished colleagues, in accordance with Order 79, subsection 1, I will move a motion for the bills to be referred to the Committee of the Whole. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by the leader. I so second. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the 5 reports say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. These bills for concurrence, have you distributed? Okay, they have distributed. Our colleagues in the House of Representatives worked on all the 5 bills before they were brought to us here. So I will be a little bit fast. DSP, have you gotten yours? Then there will be no motion. Who else doesn't have? Okay, okay. We start with Energy Commission of Nigeria Act. Those in favor of the motion that clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of that clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, and clause 9 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title on page 11 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The second report, Armed Forces of Nigeria Trust Fund Establishment Bill. Those in favor that clause 1 to 5 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6. Clause 6, application of the fund on page 3. Those in favor that clause 6, yes? Yes?
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I just want to raise a concern about utilization of the funds. I think you passed that, sorry, sir. It was so, that is clause 3. Sorry to take us back, sir. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, when you are putting in a trust fund, my understanding is for us to internally strengthen our armed forces. And one of the areas is about this equipment. And for example, we have the Defense Industry Corporation that we know was designed to enable us have some, at least, level of armaments or whatever the armed forces uses. And I thought, since they have spelled out, I've not seen anywhere, all is about acquisition, and so. So the internal local content has not been captured, and this is supposed to be an intervention. So I don't know. I feel this is a very important point that we must look at to be part of this.
Let me hazard a guess. This bill originated from the House, and I want to think like a member of the House. Maybe they were thinking that we need quick intervention because of the serious security situation. And what you are talking about, DICON may not give you that quick intervention that we need. I think it's for us to also do something to enable DICON produce weapons. But meanwhile, we need to fight the fight that has been imposed on us by insurgents and bandits and bad people in the various parts of the country. But we can look at it. Yeah, DSP.
Mr. President, I know, yes, I gave a better secretarial district. I know this bill is for concurrence, but I don't know if we've taken time to look at the source of funding. The source of funding, clause 2, 1, B, C. A, B, C. This will be in addition to budgetary allocation to the military. This is a lot, Mr. President. No, Mr. We're talking here about 1% of total money accruing to the Federation account. 1% in addition to the budgetary allocations every year. We're talking about 0.5% of profits from the Sovereign Investment Authority, and then 1% again of VAT, all in addition to the military budget. Mr. President, I think we should look at this properly. you know, 'cause for every money removed from here, some other sector is losing out. I think we should look at this. I don't know. I'm not, by the way, I'm not against additional funding for the military. I'm for it, but I'm not so sure if this is the right way to go in terms of percentage. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, I can, let me suggest something. That we stand down the consideration of this, and our committee or committees on defense and the services, that is Army, Navy, and Air Force, review the bill. Is that okay? So that we are better advised. Can someone move a motion to that? Okay, let me say that we are stopping the consideration of this report. But our committees on defense, Army, Navy, and Air Force will review, and by next week, we should have the report back with advice on what we need to do. The lead committee is defense. So we go to the second report. Oh, third report, sorry. Anything else? Huh? You want us to consider it now? Sorry? Don't jump the gun. Let's wait for advice of a joint committee. Institute of Mortgage Brokers and Lenders of Nigeria Bill. I agree with you. You can advise them. You join them, advise them. But the lead committee remains defense. The next report is Institute of Mortgage Brokers and Lenders of Nigeria Bill. Those in favor that clause 1, establishment of the institute, clause 2, functions of the institute, clause 3, clause 4, and clause 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 6 is functions of the registrar on page 3. Those in favor that clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, membership of the institute, clause 9, and clause 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 11 on page 5. Those in favor that clause 11, clause 12, qualification for membership, clause 13, clause 14, and clause 15 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, and clause 20 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 21, auditing of accounts. Those in favor that clause 21, clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, clause 25, clause 26, and clause 27 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title on page 12 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedule stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 14 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Next report, Federal University of Agriculture, Sabangida Lantang, Plateau State. This is a standard bill for establishment of a tertiary institution, especially a university, federal university. Those in favor of clause 1 to 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 11 on page 8 to 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 21 to 25 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation on page 17 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedules 1, 2, and 3 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 30 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The last report, physically challenged empowerment bill. Those in favor of clause 1 to 5 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 6 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title on page 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, plenary.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the chair revert to plenary to report progress.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise to second that the Senate do revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverts to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the Energy Commission of Nigeria Act, Cap E10, LFN 2004, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022, and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 9 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Yeah. Thank you. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the Armed Forces of Nigeria Trust Fund Establishment Bill and approved that the bill be stood down for further legislative action. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Chief Whip, please. There's a small conference going on somewhere behind. Nakudu is not talking. He has mask. You are the one that went to his seat. The Senate, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the Institute of Mortgage Brokers and Lenders of Nigeria Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 27 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Yes, thank you. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole also considered the Federal University of Agriculture, Sabangida, Lantang, Plateau State, Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 25 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules 1, 2, and 3 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Lastly, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the Physically Challenged Empowerment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 7 as recommended, short title as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move a motion that the bills be now read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I second the motion heavily moved by the leader.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that these bills be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal and enact the Energy Commission of Nigeria and to charge it with responsibility for coordinating and general surveillance over the systematic development of the various energy resources of Nigeria, and to make the Commission the national focal point for new and renewable energy, energy efficiency and conservation, and to establish the Renewable Energy Efficiency and Conservation Fund 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Institute of Mortgage Brokers and Lenders of Nigeria to regulate the activities and ensure professionalism in the system and for related matters 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Sabangida, Lantan South, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters, 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide that 10% of jobs available in all federal government ministries, departments and agencies, and companies be distributed amongst the physically challenged persons in Nigeria and for related matters 2022, third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to repeal and enact the Energy Commission of Nigeria and to charge it with responsibility for coordinating and general surveillance over the systematic development of the various energy resources of Nigeria and to make the Commission the national focal point for new and renewable energy, energy efficiency and conservation, and to establish the Renewable Energy Energy Efficiency and Conservation Fund 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. A bill for an act to establish the Institute of Mortgage Brokers and Lenders of Nigeria to regulate the activities and ensure professionalism in the system and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. A bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Sabangida, Lantan South, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters 2022, this is supposed to be third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. A bill for an act to provide that 10% of jobs available in all federal government ministries, departments, agencies, and companies be distributed amongst the physically challenged persons in Nigeria, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and this bill is also passed. Congratulations to all of us. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, having concluded today's proceedings on the order paper, I hereby move that Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, 4th October 2022 at 10 a.m. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, 4th October 2022. I so second.
Well, before I put the question, let me wish us happy independence. Is it 63rd? 62nd, sorry. I'm 1 year older, that's why I'm thinking of, I witnessed the colonial days myself. I wish us a very happy 62nd independence anniversary, and we wish our country everything good that will come our way, but we must step up in our activities as parliamentarians. We must continue to provide all the legislative interventions that are necessary for our country to move forward. I wish our citizens, our governments at all levels, happy independence anniversary. With this, let me say God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Those in favor that this Senate do adjourn to Tuesday, the 4th day of October 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned till Tuesday, the 4th day of October 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt. Thank you.